Go. Okay, let's get them onto the stage right now. They're waiting just beside me here. So welcome to the stage, please. The cast from The Walking Dead. Who we got first coming on? Let's have Chandler. Chandler! Give him a warm Liverpool welcome.
A lot of you guys here. How's it going?
Fantastic. Let's take a seat and next, let's have Stephen. And finally, Michael! Welcome, welcome. The Walking Dead. Where can I even start with this? From the very beginning, no doubt. Who's been in it the longest?
Liverpool?
Liverpool. Liverpool's been in it the longest.
You're the longest.
You came in a day earlier.
Oh, really? I'm gonna find out so much about it.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should find out more about each other. So let's go back to the beginning. Who was original cast members, and when did it all start for you? Let's go back.
I started on the show when I was 10 years old, and it was the first season. It was really hot and really gross, and we're in the middle of Georgia. Yeah, it was very long, hot days, and the rest of the show was pretty much just more long, hot days. Yeah.
I started on the show when Chandler was 13. Oh, come on.
Wow, what an audience you got here.
Wow.
Michael will be appearing every week in Liverpool, Comedy Central.
Season 4. He started when he's 10, 11, 12, 13. It's a really beautiful theater, though. Right?
This is a nice theater. Is this where are we? What is this?
Liverpool.
I know that. What is this auditorium for, generally?
Okay, guys, so who knows the history of the auditorium here? I'd like to put your hands up. It's at the docks, isn't it? It's quite a recent development. I don't know the history of the theatre here. What sort of things do you get here? Do you get ballets? Do you get theatre on? What do you get? Pantomimes? Would you know what pantomimes are?
Is everyone okay?
Anybody out there? You all starstruck?
Are you guys real?
You've got no idea. Okay, right.
COVID audience. Cardboard cutouts like the sporting event.
Okay, so you were in it from the very beginning, Chandler. And what was it like when you first got from your agent? Did you have to be cast for it, or were you kind of headhunted for it and people knew on the creative side that they wanted you?
No, it was just another random audition. I was hired locally, actually, which was a crazy stroke of luck. And yeah, so I got to stay in school and be on the show at the same time, which actually school was more stressful than being on the show. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got to just be a normal kid and, come to these kind of conventions on the weekend and go to work during the week. It was fun.
How many of these have you done?
I've been doing these since the show started, so 11 years.
Crikey.
Yeah.
And is Liverpool your favourite so far? The Northwesterners are renowned for their hospitality. Is that right, Liverpudlians? There you go, absolutely. And for yourselves, how many of these have you done? How many Comic-Cons?
I'm doing them since I started in season 4 on the show, and then I think I started doing conventions after season 5 or 6. And then I've been probably 5-6 years minus COVID.
And how did you take them initially? Were you weirded out?
I initially didn't want to do them. I honestly I was like, what do? You go, And I was talked into it, and they said, it's about the fan interaction. And I was like, okay, let's see. So I wound up doing one, and it is. And that's why I continue doing it, is because you guys. It's the only time we really get to sort of connect with the audience, and not just, with The Walking Dead. For somebody like myself, I've done a lot of non-genre stuff over my career, so I'm meeting people who are fans of some of the work I've done before, Band of Brothers, Southland, things that don't have...
Star Wars trilogy. Who loved Michael and
the Flintstones. No, so it's great to just sort of connect with everybody, and especially the families. And you know, you guys put a lot of effort into coming to see us, and we appreciate it. So it is that rare sort of instance where you get to connect with everyone. So we love them.
Fantastic. You're going to get your chance to really ask what you want to ask as well. Steve, how about you? How long have you been coming to Comic-Cons?
It was probably with The Walking Dead. I mean, that's what starts it, and it's you know, it's an incredibly. I mean, like what Michael says, it's when people thank us for coming. It's like, no, thank you guys, because without you, there's no us, especially with these events. So Walking Dead definitely opened up this whole con world. I was in the same thing. I was, you know, sort of thinking, oh, I'm not an actor. If I do these, I won't be taken seriously. And why? Why do you want this picture? I don't get it. This? But then I don't get sports. Like, people, you know, go to sports and spend money on that kind of stuff. But
It's the wrong city to say that.
I know, but it's a great analogy.
I've heard.
But it's a great analogy because both bring people joy. So it's like, who's to judge what makes people happy? And if you can be a part of making someone happy, like, that's a pretty fucking incredibly blessed place to be in. So
It's an incredible interface, isn't it? I did Gladiator show, which the Americans started off, and it'll be 30 years for us next year. But when I first was asked to come to a Comic-Con 5 years ago, you meet people that know more about you and the shows than yourself, and the love and devotion. So thank you to everybody who's come for my show and the guys' show out here today. So we've got half an hour, and I'm sure you've got a lot more questions than I can ask at the moment. You've got some mics dotted around the auditorium here, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if anybody would like to ask a question, just pop up to one of the mics and give us your name, and then ask whoever you'd like your question.
Number two.
She's there already.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I don't know if you guys still watch the show, but if you do, how do you feel it should end? Because obviously we're in the last season now.
I still watch the show. I still work on the show. I direct now, and not the entire seasons, of just episodes during the seasons. I am very curious to see how The Walking Dead flagship show finishes, because it can't end. Because we still have Fear the Walking Dead, and we still have the spinoff, and we've been told all these things. So
And another spinoff.
so we can't find the cure. There's no, you know what I mean? There's no sort of. I'm curious to see what they do, and they've had a lot of time to think about it, so it better be good. Yeah, they know they're ending it. So no, I think I'm sure that Angela and Scott have come up with something wonderful for this chapter to end. I just want that little kid to go all day long.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you guys.
And thank you. Let's go to number 1.
Hi, I'm Maggie. Thanks for being here. Besides your own death, what was the worst death for you?
For me, it was Lori, Sarah Wayne Callies, when she left the show, because it was like, it was just like that whole sequence just took us so many days to shoot, and it was just crying, like nonstop, just sobbing the whole time. And it was over my 13th birthday, and it was like the worst birthday ever, having to kill your mom. Really, really rough. So, yeah, that was definitely the hardest for me.
I mean, I'd say when really I was introduced, or when I was introducing Negan and all of that took place, it was probably the multiple deaths of those characters over the course of a week, no, 2 weeks we shot all
It felt like 6 months, man. It was rough.
It was pretty intense, because everyone, I mean, like what Challenge was saying by to Sarah, it was now all of these people, and this was a family, and so that was a pretty intense, rough time saying bye.
Yeah.
Not for me, because I was just coming into it, but to be going into this group saying bye to a lot of family members at one time. It was a pretty tough.
I think, for me, I think they're all pretty brutal. I miss, like, Herschel was a big one for me.
Oh, yeah.
Noah was actually huge. I think Noah had one of the most hideous deaths on the show, but we didn't. This is going to sound shitty, but he wasn't around long enough for everyone to fall in love with him the way they did with Abraham and Glenn specifically. But I think from a horror standpoint, Noah had a much more hideous death, getting torn apart inside the glass turnstile with everybody seeing it. And it was done really, really well. And he's phenomenal. I think all the deaths have their own sort of little place. You know, they're all, obviously they're...
Some are pretty funny.
Some are pretty funny. Some are funny.
Don't forget the funny deaths, Michael. Jeez.
So what was one of the funny deaths then?
I don't know. Ignore me.
It's well, because that's where you were on that day in your head. Often I've thought with kind of when it's drawn out over a period of filming, you know, what goes on emotionally. I work as a psychotherapist, and obviously it's real life, not sort of real play, not role play. But I have a lot of friends who are actors, and if they're drawn into a role for weeks and months, say on a soap opera or whatever, and it's a pretty dark place for the character, it's really impacting, isn't it? Or it can be.
Yeah, definitely when you have to go to, you know, really dark places for a long period of time, it's rough. But, you know, I felt, I struggled with that a lot when I was really young, but kind of as I got older, I got better at, like, separating the character and myself, and but it took time and practice. Hard.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Great question. Okay, let's go back over to number 2. Oh, we've got some 4s up there as well. 2.
Oh, hiya, I'm Trish.
Hi, Trish.
That's like a little 3 hiding behind there, just so you see him.
Oh,
Is that
Trish,
a wee
can I
number
just
3?
Stop for one moment. Hello, number 3.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Who are you?
I'm Mason.
Hi, I'm Mason.
Awesome.
Have you got a question for the guys?
Yeah. Are you scared of zombies?
I'm terrified of them. Are you?
And my daddy watches them.
Your daddy will kick the crap out of a zombie, I bet. Right?
Thank you, Mason. Thank you.
So my question's for Chandler. What was it like starting out on a show like this so young? Because like I would totally be freaked out being around all them zombies.
Well, I mean, it's being around all the zombies and everything. I mean, that's sort of part of our job is to make it look scary. So, you know, we know it's. I mean, I knew it wasn't real. Like it was just pretend. And I loved zombie video games and all that stuff. So being like on that set was so cool. Like I could not wait to like see more of the zombies and everything. It was really cool. But being on a show like that and working, you know, every day, I had been acting like for the rest of my life, so I didn't have much to like compare it to other than, you know, this was just different because I just had to work like every day, and it was a lot of fun. It was great. And at the end of the first season, you know, none of us knew if the show was even going to get picked up for a second season. So I remember when we wrapped, everyone was like cheering and crying and like hugging each other because we didn't know if we would ever see each other again. And yeah, it was just great. That first season was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go up to number 4. What's your name?
George.
George.
Yeah.
Hi, George. What question have you got?
What would be the most disturbing moment in the Walking Dead show?
Michael?
The most disturbing in the show, or the most disturbing for us personally?
For you personally?
The most disturbing. I don't know if any of it was disturbing.
One of my most disturbing was and this is just so you can continue to think, not to interrupt.
No, I don't.
I'm giving you
Oh,
time. being completely unselfish.
I think the most disturbing stuff we do is the most fun stuff for us. Like the stuff that you guys find disturbing, that's like a great day at work. So I don't, you know, I know what you're saying, but it doesn't, that work doesn't affect me like that.
I'd say the grossest thing, well, the one, I never saw zombies for months. I was never around any zombies, so disturbing for me was seeing my first zombie at lunch, eating. That's always disturbing, because they're so incredibly well done, the Couture and the group. That was disturbing to me. And then the only other time was when Simon became a zombie, and they have the guts everywhere. That was a bit disturbing to me. When they have the buckets of blood and guts coming that scatter around. Yeah, exactly.
Does special effects actually use some real stuff at times? Or are they just...
I mean, it's a combination.
The only time they use real anything is when
Hopefully not blood.
stuff's being eaten. When stuff's being eaten, it's real meat.
Yeah.
Or
It's real human flesh.
if you're,
That's what we want.
or if you're
Running out of
vegetarian,
people, running out of extras in Atlanta.
it's real impossible meat if you're a vegetarian.
Humans.
I think the most disturbing thing for me was we were in the midst of doing the sequence where Carl loses his eye, and so I get to base camp and I walk into the hair and makeup trailer, and then I see sitting in the hair and makeup trailer, it's me, but it's not moving, and it has an eye carved out of it. It's a mannequin. They had made a mannequin of me, and it was sitting in the chair, and it was just the weirdest moment of like, okay, I'm real. I'm real. That is not real. It was so weird because it was like they had taken a cast of my face and put it, on this mannequin, and it was just so weird to just see like me sitting in that chair with an eye just carved out. It was really bizarre.
Gross. Does that answer your question, George?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you very much. Let's move over to number one.
Hi. What was your favourite behind-the-scenes moment or memory?
I would say, honestly, for me personally, with almost every project, the behind the scenes and the things that happen outside of the work are the deepest memories. Because when people say, like, what's your favorite scene? I could never say. But I could say, like, all of the moments. Like, generally, it's hanging out. Like, in Atlanta, we all became very close and spend a lot of time together. So it's all those moments. It's really everything outside of the work that is the most special that I remember. My memories are.
I agree with that. I just remember hours with just me and Josh just laughing, just at the stupidest shit. And it was amazing. Because there's an element, there's all the characters in the show, and then there's Georgia. And Georgia kind of takes its own character in the show, and with the heat and the humidity and everything that Georgia brings to the show, it's all the shitty things that would exist in that world that help you get into character. So it's like, okay, it's 1,000 degrees and it's humid and it's shitty and you're all sweaty and you're like, okay, we're there. Every moment of work, we're there because that's what exists around you. So to sort of separate that and find comfort in each other and just laughing and cutting it up behind the scenes, whatever it is, there's just days where we just would not stop laughing because the work is so intense, because the schedule is so intense that you don't really cut up that much on set unless you're Andy and Norman messing with each other, which is its whole own other thing and its own wonderful sort of brothers messing with each other. But yeah, I agree.
I think Austin Emilio and he was my little giggle partner. And I think more than once we got silenced by sound on set for farting. Because we were just like, we were just like giggling and laughing around the corner in the house in Alexander, and literally sound would come and they'd be could hear us laughing. We're farting. And that's like some of my fondest memories.
I love it. I love
Like
it.
so ridiculous, but it's those moments of like those fawning connections.
I think one of my favorite moments was, so in Georgia, because of child labor laws, kids aren't allowed to, touch or hold a firearm on set until they're 14. And so up until that point, I had been using like a rubber gun or like a plugged weapon or something. And we were shooting season 4, and there was this scene, I don't know if you guys remember, it's where they were at the prison, and then the zombies, they started like breaching one of the fences, and then Rick and Carl had like go in the courtyard and like mow them all down. So it was, they like scheduled that scene to be like right on my 14th birthday. And I was like, no way, they're gonna let me shoot a machine gun for my 14th birthday? This is gonna be sick. So it gets to the day before, actually, and we've shot everything we really needed up to that point, and we were just sitting around for like an hour, waiting until midnight so I could actually hold the gun. And then it starts getting closer, and then everyone starts counting down. It hits midnight, everyone cheers, and then Andy, the guy who plays Rick, he comes over and knights me with an M16. He says, "Give this man some bullets," and we just went blasting into the night. It was great. We did it again the next day. It was awesome.
That's brilliant. Thank you for that. A round of applause for that. That was a moment. Good question. Thank you very much. Let's go to number 2.
Hi. Oh wow. I never felt short in my life, but this is very high. My name is Deveria, and I just wanted to know what is your comfort TV show?
Nice one. Oh, show your soft side, guys.
I watch a lot of, I try to watch a lot of different television, but I don't know if I'd say I have like a comfort show, because I like watching stressful shows. I don't know why. Ozark, I've been obsessed with Ozark. I guess Sex Education, that'd be like my comfort show, just because it's or actually no, New Girl. I don't know if you guys have New Girl here in the UK, but that's my comfort show. It's like a good amount of wholesome and comedy to keep me entertained for 20 minutes.
Outer Banks is my latest comfort thing, which is my comfort stuff is just stuff I can watch and not have to think about. Lucifer, Sabrina. This is stuff I just watch with my wife. We just sit down and just it's just mindless in the best way. And then there's other shows that I enjoy, but that's my sort of my guilty pleasures, I guess.
Nice one. What about you, Steve?
I don't watch a lot of TV or movies, but I guess my guilty pleasure is YouTube. But I end up watching. I can spend hours watching just clips of
Loop of Death.
Yeah, but just I usually watch bizarre interviews of a Bowie or I also like Behind the Musics. That's my guilty pleasure. They just started that again. So the history of Duran Duran. I'll watch that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Bret Michaels, the story of Bret Michaels, and I watch these things. That's usually what I watch.
Are you going to watch back this interview?
No. I see myself enough.
Thank you for your questions. Very good. Okay, let's go up to, cues of form. Where have I gone? I've gone to number 1, number 2. Let's go up to number 4.
Hi, I'm Jacob.
Hey, Jacob.
So what was it like to find out about your death, because they don't match up with the comics? Is it surprising?
Yeah, I mean, I found out a couple months prior to my character getting killed off, but it was at kind of I thought it was really bad timing, but it ended up being pretty good timing, because I had just gotten a place down near the set, and I had I had my college all set up. I had my major, and I think the next week I was going to pick out my classes, and then I was told it wasn't going to be on the show anymore. So I was like, okay, Well, yeah, but luckily it was like right before the deadline that I could actually like withdraw from the college that I was going to. So I was able to kind of take that, move out to Los Angeles, and kind of continue pursuing acting. And if I hadn't left the show, I wouldn't have spent the last 4 years studying acting and getting way, way better than I ever was on the show. So and at the end of the day, it's been a really good thing. Not too bad. Yeah.
Mine was sort of aligned with the comic. I mean, so far as timing. You know, in the graphic novel, it's Denise's death in our show was Abraham's death in the graphic novel, and it only happened like 4 episodes or so, 5 episodes before or after it had happened, which is where they start to go searching for ammunition. I prefer the death in the show, as says Kirkman, over the graphic novel. There's a little more of a active death than a passive death. He just literally gets shot in the eye in the middle of a conversation in the graphic novel, and Kirkman thought that death did not honor his life. I personally would have loved to have seen Abraham and Sasha go a little bit further into all-out war, to see the two of them be soldiers together. But that being said, I was happy with when it happened. I knew when it was going to happen. I roughly knew, you know, I only had 3-4 years or so on the show, so everything for me was as it was sort of scheduled. So I was fine with mine.
So I wasn't in the comics, so it was all borrowed time for me. And the only death thing that I would say is that Jeffrey and I wanted not a much different fight, but a bit of a dirtier fight. You know, we thought, how can we make this nastier in how it went down? But that was about the only thing.
Thank you. Good question. Let's come down to number 2 and then back over to number 1.
Hi guys.
I love what you're wearing.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just going to get this camera on because it's bucket list moment, isn't it?
Oh,
I'm probably going to hit it in a few years. So we've got this really weird game that we play, me and my children, where when we're waiting, and because we're British, we wait a lot, in like a doctor's surgery or anywhere, who would you pick kind of in this room right now if we were in a zombie apocalypse? So we have to decipher who we would pick and who we wouldn't pick. Now my question is, which 2 cast members would you each pick in the apocalypse and who wouldn't and why?
None of them. None of us are making it through an apocalypse. See, we're trained to like aim our guns next to the extras and everything. So anytime we'd be aiming at a zombie, we would just aim it to the side of it. It'd be terrible.
Or
We'd all be dead.
Or do what I do and go, and be told, you don't make that sound, Stephen. Oh, sorry.
Last time I answered a question like this, similar to this, I got in trouble, so I'm not gonna.
That's okay, Michael. Nobody will tell anybody.
I'm not. Yeah. Who'll ever see this? It's bear rules in the zombie apocalypse. You don't have to be the fastest. Just don't be the slowest.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Out of curiosity though, like, is there someone you wouldn't have?
Who I wouldn't have with me?
Is there someone really lazy or someone who just cries a lot or on set, like, apart from Chandler when he's, having a bad day and he's just being told he's going to die in like the next scene after he's set.
I wouldn't want baby Judith, but I'd take Judith.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's cute.
Like, baby Judith is who I'd want to be, because it was just like, what do you, like, people are just taking care of you all day long. You're like, no, what are you doing? You're eating, you're pooping.
And let's be honest, she's allowed to fart without being told off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I'd take present day Judith.
Yeah.
100%.
Always my go-to.
Baby Judith.
Yeah. Send Judith.
Answer your questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, nobody answered my question at all.
They all circumnavigated that one quite well.
Good. Number 1, hello.
Talked forever and fucking said nothing. That's the name of my autobiography coming out late 2028. It's a pop-up book.
Hi, my name's Alana. And I just wanted to ask you, because I know obviously you all do different bits of The Walking Dead, like Mighty Ducks, Snowpiercer, you know, Band of Brothers, all this. So I just wanted to ask you, from The Walking Dead show itself, if you had a choice, if you weren't yourself in the show, what actor or actress would you have liked to have taken over instead of yours?
Judith.
Excluding Judith.
Wait, did you say what other actor would I have take over my character?
No, like, for instance now, like, I also love Darren Nixon, Norman Reedus. So I'd like to be his character, because I think he's really badass. But, like, for you guys now, obviously, I know you've all got good actors, but if you wanted to take over somebody else's role and do a bit of what they do, who would you choose, excluding Judith?
I was going to say Judith.
Judith, yeah, Judith. Michonne, for sure.
I'd take over Carol.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to know what it's like to be that fucking amazing. Because Melissa's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. It was actually the first time that I saw her on set, because she used to be a casting director, and I had gone in for auditions for like a ton of times. So it was really weird seeing her on set and like in wardrobe, and I was like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
You're like, Chandler, you don't have the role yet. You have to read for me. Again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. He's not guessing.
The chat going on now with the exclusive bits. Thank you, it was a really good question.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, big round of applause for that. Up to number 3. Hello.
Hi,
What's your name?
Sam.
Hiya, Sam. What have you got?
Since that starting season, what character do you think has had the most growth?
I think it's changed. I used to say my favorite characters were Glenn and Carol because of the early arcs that they had. We literally saw Steven grow up on the show. Glenn, it's kind of amazing, and Chandler as well. But Steven had such a great arc with coming into manhood, falling in love, and it was amazing. Since then, though, I think that, and things that you're going to see this season, because I know things about this season that you don't. Eugene, Josh has such a great character arc. I'm excited for you guys to see what happens to Eugene this season.
Thank you. Let's go up to number 4. We've only got a few minutes left.
Hi, my name's Charlie. It's a question for you, Chandler. What's the biggest lesson you've took from acting?
Oh man. You know, honestly, having Andy as my character's father was like the best thing ever, because I don't think there's anyone else, like any other actor that I've met that like shows up that prepared and that ready and that like on top of everything. Like that man knew my lines coming on to set. Like he knew every single word on that page, and he would always come with ideas and ways to just do things differently. And God, he just taught me so much of just how to just be like a good like leader on set. You know, like setting a great example for everyone, for the whole cast, because he just set a great example.
He always set the bar. Andy is like one of the best number ones I've ever come. Number one on the call sheet, number one. And he was amazing. He's always been the bar that others are compared to.
Nice one.
Thank you very much.
Lovely question, thank you. And to number 2.
Hi, my name's Abbas, and my question is, out of all the deaths, which one would you have wanted to change and why? I'll let you ponder.
There's a lot of people I just wish were still around. So I wish Shane was still around.
I know, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
because it's just she's a badass.
But at the
Merle.
same time, I wouldn't change his death.
No, exactly. So it's weird. I think Kirkman always said people had to die in the world because it had to remind the audience it was a dangerous world. So the people you love had to pass, so you knew that nobody was really safe, and that made it so it wasn't like an episode of Star Trek every week when Captain Kirk was in peril, but we knew he was on next week because he was Captain Kirk. We kill people. So, like, almost every one of the deaths, I'd want those people back, personally. But it'd be a very boring show if that were the case. There'd be too many people to love. You just can't love that many people. Shut up.
Well, listen, we're out of time, unfortunately. Very sorry to all of you who didn't get to ask your questions.
You can come to our tables and say hi.
Oh,
and you can ask questions at the table.
Yeah, actually, we're all together at our tables, like next to each other.
Except Brian Hurst, Beta.
Wow.
He's not here. Apparently, he's doing the Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
But we're not bitter about that.
So make your way to the tables, guys, and get to meet the guys in person.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you guys on the sound as well. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks again.